Have you ever felt like the black sheep of your family, where you're constantly being blamed for all the mishap and for negative things that might not actually be your fault? Have you ever experienced other members of your family being more so protected and defended, and you are always the person to go to blame for any alarming situation or events when it involves the family? Well, this might mean that you're actually the scapegoat of the family. And I posit a theory that introverts are more so likely to be the scapegoat of the family. What actually is the scapegoat? A family scapegoat is a person who is blamed for family issues that are beyond their own control. This can include being criticized, shamed, or held to a different standard than other family members. Scapegoating can happen in families with unhealthy dynamics and can start in childhood. It can be a way to protect the image of the family or to favor certain people. Something that I'm very happy to see, something that I'm very pleased with, is this focus on mental health. All across social media, ideas behind narcissism, empathy, family dynamics are being put on the forefront. And I think this is especially so for the introverts' mental health. Because as many introverts know, we live in a world that sometimes it seemingly devalues or even demonizes the introvert. I think it's supremely beneficial to be able to discuss these issues, which usually, again, aren't being discussed enough. And it's usually left in the psychological realm. So with the introvert, I believe that there are key traits that make the introvert an easy scapegoat. First of which is the sensitivity. The sensitive introvert can feel negative situations very deeply. And many families harbor unresolved traumatic dispositions. And many families are not willing to bring this out in the forefront in order to save face. And I think actually this is very true for immigrant families. Immigrant families who might come from areas of the world that are less focused on understanding mental health, right? And also have the pressures of being in the working class and having to work usually long hours, usually with a big family, right? So in that case, there is rarely any time for trying to decipher family issues, mental health, right? That offers a protective mechanism whereby if you ever challenge the strategy or the way that your parents brought you up, you'll be likely shamed by other family members. It's a very taboo subject because in some families, they simply believe that you being alive and gaining this opportunity in life, even though it was without your consent, you should be thankful that you were put onto this earth, even if you had to struggle through most of your life, even if you had unfortunate circumstances most of your life. If you're a sensitive person and you feel this dynamic very deeply and you understand what's going on and something in your intuition is telling you that it's quite wrong, it's quite bad, well, if you are one who wants to speak out about these issues, you most likely will be demonized. And so we see a quiet dysfunctional and traumatic effect where the person who wants to open up and communicate about certain issues is disregarded and tainted as a troublesome individual. Sometimes people envy the depth of empathy that others might be able to express or experience because they can see that in most cases that empathic person is quite favored around people, is a quite likable person. Whereas people with less empathy, people who are less able to understand where other people are coming from, end up not really being likable. And so if you're the more empathic person in your family, it's very likely that you will be frowned upon. You will be disliked because you gain favor where they don't or can't. I think this is really the origin point for many disputes between siblings. We have the biblical example of Joseph, who was favored by his father, who gave him a very attractive coat, and his brothers were jealous of him and sold him out, basically sold him into slavery. This phenomenon still happens. And I believe that it's usually the introverted person who is more so going to be prone to this treatment. You have to understand, empathy is in line with honesty, a want for openness, for understanding. Some people are just simply not able to express these qualities. And if in you expressing those qualities paints them in a negative light, then you will be the target of scorn. Now, some people might be thinking, hey, maybe that's just a victim mentality. Maybe these so-called scapegoats have done something to be put in that situation. Maybe they don't pull their weight, or maybe they don't behave in a way that is consistent with the credo of this family. Perhaps, right? Perhaps, but at the end of the day, should your family be this dismissive of you? Should your own family really devalue you in this way based on your personality, based on who you are? Personally, in my ideal world, my family would be the people who I'm closest to or who understand me the most, who I am much more able to be open with. But the reality is, as we all know, many family members can actually be synonymous with being an enemy. Many people have had money stolen from them by their family. Many people have been murdered by people in their families. And so the idea of the scapegoat is a very real situation. Normally a scapegoat, or someone who is branded a black sheep, should be someone who has committed an act that is bad, a crime. But if my theory holds weight and it's actually people who are thoughtful and empathetic and introverted, if these people are the ones who are being tainted and being scapegoated, then I think it points to something much more sinister. It's kind of like the situation with Cinderella and the mistreatment from her sisters and her stepmother simply for being a kinder-hearted or a fair person. But I'm under the firm belief that many introverts will have poor mental health because of situations like these. Our upbringing has a lasting impression on our personality, who we are, but also how we relate to other people. Mental health, when it comes to introverts, should be high on our agenda. And this could mean analyzing and investigating your own family's effects on your mental health. And sometimes the unfortunate solution might be no contact with family members. A lot of this stuff is so deep-rooted, it can barely be fixed. And what you'll find is that people who have this mentality are usually the ones who are less willing to speak about them. These are people who are less likely to be accountable for their actions. A lot of these traits align with the typical narcissistic traits of simply never thinking maybe the problem lies with you, never believing that you can be wrong. You know, a personality like that, you can't help or you can't fix until these people want to seek the help. So sometimes, unfortunately, and as tragic as it might be, you might have to move away from your family of origin. And sometimes that might be a good thing. Having a full understanding of the world and self is very important, in my opinion. And people who might be persecuted in this way, well, they have knowledge from this experience whereby if they were to create their own family, they would know a healthier way to go about these problems. They will have much more understanding on how their actions might scapegoat certain members of their family, therefore creating a new breed of humanity with improved mental health. And I think the ramifications of that are massive. But what are your thoughts? What do you think about this issue around the family scapegoat? Have you ever been the black sheep or the scapegoat in your family? How did you deal with it? What did you do to move past it? Let us know your thoughts in the chat below.